Hi everyone, and welcome to our RegTech event, Edge event on regulatory compliance solutions. In the spirit of reconciliation, the RegTech Association acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respects to the elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today. Thank you for taking the time to join us at our last Edge for 2022. To date, we've had over 15,000 people from more than 85 countries attend our online program since COVID 2020 March. Today, we have 178 registrations from 12 countries that are interested in having real tools to manage this risk. These include 41 regulated institutions, 13 government regulators, 7 investors and 56 RegTechs. I've just got some housekeeping to go through. Today will be recorded and every registered delegate will receive a recording. Cameras and mics off please unless you are presenting, thank you. All questions in the chat and don't be shy, our presenters love to have questions from our audience members. There will be some polls and some questions put in the chat. You will see them flash up on your screen during the event. To our presenters, you will have only 5 minutes and that isn't long, it flies by. So I will turn on my camera at the 4 minute about 4 minute 30 second mark, just as a visual reminder that you've got 30 seconds left before someone will jump in to go through the rest of your slides. We'll move through them to the next presenter. I'd also encourage the presenters to put in the chat their case studies and any other materials that might be useful for the attendees today. Our presenting RegTechs today are Complies, Fifth Logic, LiveSign, MemberCheck, Neotologic, OCR Labs and TikTok. But it is now my great pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Justin Ellis from Ashurst Risk Advisory, who will provide us with a quick overview on the current landscape and also play the role of moderator. Justin is a director in Ashurst's Risk Advisory practice. He has worked with the majority of global and Australian financial service providers to design and deliver strategic programs. His experience combines practical commercial delivery with a passion for how existing and emerging technology can best be leveraged for clients. Since 2020, his role at Ashurst has included working with a number of RegTechs to successfully partner and develop innovative and market-leading new solutions for their clients. Thank you, Justin. Over to you.
Thank you for the kind introduction, Alison. It's great again to have the opportunity to help set the scene for this session, and I'm particularly excited about the 7 RegTech presentations we have coming up. A little bit about Ashurst and what we were seeing before we do. Ashurst as a law firm is actually celebrating 200 years in operation this month, and our risk advisory business was launched in 2020. We help clients operationalise the law and now number over 100 in the team and have just launched in the UK due to the high demand for our services. We've been a member of the RegTech Association since 2020 to help support the startup community, help us see what solutions are being developed and problem solved, and explore who we could work with to help our clients. The rapidly evolving regulatory environment means organisations need to respond effectively and swiftly, and forums like this can help support through the sharing of ideas and collaboration. At last week's ASIC forum, the Assistant Treasurer and Minister for Financial Services indicated the incoming reform agenda for the current government, including crypto and digital asset regulation, privacy reform and the introduction of some scam and fraud protections. So it's certainly a very active market and a lot of demand. In terms of our team, we've got expertise across a number of domains, which also includes helping clients understand and manage their regulatory obligations. Now, this can be a complex exercise and one that often requires a detailed understanding and balance of risk, legal and commercial considerations. It's also one where it's essential to have a plain English translation of what the obligations are and actually mean. Obligations themselves also often require the effective operation and integration of different components, such as adequate compliance arrangements, including controls, and which are aligned with regulatory expectations. Many businesses we see take a risk-based approach to align their risk management framework and risk appetites, which in order to succeed need to answer a number of questions, such as, do you have a defined risk appetite for compliance? And does this differ for different entities or product lines? How will you assess your obligations? And do you have a standard probability impact model? And do you know which products and processes have the high high levels of compliance risk, or otherwise. Another example of questions that many organisations are seeking to answer is how to identify early when things have gone wrong. And I think good rec tools that should be able to point out red flags early are probably, well, pretty high in demand. And this actually also helps organisations reduce operational pressure on first and second lines of defences. And then equally, how can it help them monitor and track rectification and remediation to recalibrate within the risk appetite? This makes today's focus of particular interest. We've seen multiple cases where clients are reviewing their current approach, processes, data sources, and controls for ensuring regulatory compliance, which usually includes a review of software technology options and an openness to better way to approach this challenge. This is especially true, I should say, where these processes and control may be largely manual. Regulators have also continued to increase their demands and the breadth of data requirements and can place organisations at the risk of their regulator knowing their business and compliance issues better than they do. Equally, many organisations are also seeking to better understand and track plain regulatory changes and ensure actions on their own regulatory compliance programs to ensure they can identify non-compliance quickly and are well positioned to respond before the regulator takes any action and keep a clear trail of what activity has been underway. Given this, and given this context, I'm sure we're very excited to see today's showcases. So first off, I'd like to introduce, is Complies, I think, first today. Jackson, I'll pass over to you.
Thank you very much, Justin, and you are very much talking my language there. These are the issues that have really informed the development of this software product. With my other hat, I'm an immigration lawyer. I've been in that field for about 15 years, and I actually operate one of the larger boutique immigration law firms in Australia. And at the start of COVID, that really got us thinking, what are businesses doing about compliance? And the reality that we saw out there in the market was that people were doing everything manually. Well, they weren't doing it at all. They were trying to use spreadsheets to track data, up to 16 different sort of data points per individual across up to, several hundred visa holders in their organization. So we've built this software platform to deliver the sort of automated controls, the integrations that modern software systems can deliver and enable organizations to be fully compliant with immigration law obligations. So if you could move to the next slide, please. Why does immigration matter? Well, in Australia, there are approximately 1.7 million people on temporary visas, and a very large percentage of these people have work rights. As many as 1 in 12 people in the Australian labour market actually hold a temporary visa. Along with having a temporary visa come a whole bunch of obligations for employers and organisations. These are things like making sure that student visas don't work beyond a certain number of hours per week, making sure that working holiday visa makers don't work beyond 6 months, making sure that you are paying your temporary visa holders the amount that you told the Department of Home Affairs you would pay. Now, if you're operating a large organisation, whether that's a multinational, whether it's in agriculture, hospitality or healthcare, that can mean that your organisation is employing hundreds or even thousands of temporary visa holders. So how do you track all these different obligations to manage those employee requirements? It's very difficult. And what we've done is develop a system that allows organisations to do so. Slide. So failure to comply with immigration law is really serious, and many people don't fully appreciate just how serious it can be. For Australians, many will be aware of the scandals that have occurred amongst large employers where they've been found to be non-compliant with immigration obligations. So ongoing brand damage is a huge issue in this space. If you're a large employer and you're not doing the right thing, advertently, inadvertently, the consequences can be really serious. Secondly, the penalties for non-compliance are very high. These can include fines, but also civil and criminal penalties for directors and executive directors. So that means CEOs and board members are actually liable for personal penalties, including jail time, in cases where the business has not been doing the right thing. And one of the challenges with immigration law obligations is they are strict liability, which is to say that if you as a director cannot demonstrate that you have taken proactive steps to ensure that staff are doing the right thing, then you still have that liability. And of course, businesses today don't want to just do the bare minimum. Businesses want to be recognised for their corporate social responsibility, for their environmental social governance, and engaging with the community. Now, there's no point in investing in those activities if at the back end your immigration system, your immigration compliance is absolutely, porous, full of holes, and there's lots of problems. And lastly, the one that I'd point out is supply chain obligations. Modern slavery obligations apply to organisations in Australia with over $100 million turnover, and those organisations have to report what they are doing to make sure that their organisations in their supply chain are complying with the obligations that they have, and that includes immigration obligations. And this is really important in sectors like agriculture, where we're talking about large supermarket buyers, for example, needing to know that the people who are out picking fruit, for example, are getting treated the right way and are receiving the right terms and conditions, not just under employment law, but also under immigration law. Okay, next slide, please. So there's a lot of challenges here. We've got siloed divisions where there's a limited amount of knowledge about immigration. We've got complexity. The immigration system is incredibly complex and changes all the time. Personal liability. There's the time and cost of managing, tracking this data, which many organisations simply aren't doing, and the challenges of keeping up to date and educating employees as they come on board. So how do we address this? Slide. Just a little comment from Warren Buffett there. Oh, next one. Next slide, please. We seem to have gotten a little bit out of order. I'll just skip this one.
Apologies, there seems to be, we'll go back to the slide and we'll give you a bit more time. So
yeah, no, that's absolutely fine.
Is that the right slide?
That is the right one. Yeah, okay, thank you very
excellent.
much.
We'll give you another minute.
Yeah, no problems. So we've developed 3 modules. We've got a workforce management module. This is like an add-on to your HR, and we're actually building integrations with SAP SuccessFactors at the moment. So when an employee is onboarded, you record whether they're a visa holder or not, and the system will actually say, because the employee holds this type of visa, these are the obligations you have, and it will allow you to track that data. Where that data exists in your HR system, it will automatically be imported into the compliance system. Where that data doesn't exist, you will need to manually enter it into compliance, but the system will flag that and indicate that. It also does some basic things that other systems out there do, like tracking the, like checking that someone has the right visa and that the visa is valid. But that's only one of the 16 different functions that that workforce management module does. We also have online training to educate stakeholders about immigration law. So that's webinars, Immigration 101 course, and other materials to keep people who are responsible for managing immigration in your organisation up to date. It includes template immigration policies that can be implemented across the organisation. And then we have the third module is online training. This is designed to deliver to all employees across the business information about how immigration works and what their personal obligations are. Slide. So this is a screenshot of our workforce management system. Essentially, it is like a HR product where you are tracking all the different aspects about an employee, but in relation to immigration. We can do automated visa checking, record management, real-time compliance notifications. And then if you have those modern slavery obligations as an organisation, that data can also be exported and provided to other parties in the supply chain to show that you're doing the right thing, that you're ticking all the right boxes and you are fully compliant. Slide. Our online training includes webinars, compliance modules, as I've described, much like what you would do in sectors such as anti-money laundering training, for example. There's an example there, and knowledge libraries, so information about the visa system for stakeholders. So thank you, everyone. That's our system. It's the only one like it in the Australian market. We think this is a really great moment for the product because the new Labor government has a real focus on visa holders and worker exploitation, and we think that this product's going to be very important for businesses over the coming 3 years.
Thank you, Jackson, for that really good presentation. Now, next up is James from Fifth Logic. Over to you, James.
Thanks, Justin. Hi, everyone. Next slide, please. So a little bit about Fifth Logic. We've been around for 5 years. We're all made up of ex-Macquarie Bank tech directors. So we held some pretty senior roles there. You can see global head of reg reporting and market operations and global heads of market risk IT. And we've got quite a few others on the team who held big responsibilities at that bank. And through that, we've built a deep understanding of technology and business and how the two overlap and how difficult it is to comply large organisations. So we offer our Fifth Logic IQ platform, which is a voice intelligence platform in financial services. And we also do a fair amount of consulting around the Australian market in financial services. We've been nominated as finalists for a couple of awards in recent times at the ARN and at the RegTech Awards a couple of weeks ago. So thanks, RTA, for having us with that. Okay, next slide, please. Some of our recent clients. So we work across finance. We thought we'd do Macquarie type clients, but actually we work across finance and work with some of the regulators, including APRA in the market. Next slide, please. So a bit about the platform. So the Fifth Logic IQ platform is all about voice and structured data and correlating the two together. So we see voice data as the greatest untapped source of data on the planet. If you think about all the structured data that you're dealing with in an organisation, that's a huge amount of data that you're trying to work with. But then you think about all of the different actors speaking and what they're saying around your organisation, both internally and externally. The amount of data is larger than all of the data that you're dealing with today. So on the left-hand side, you can see some of the actors around the outside, and these include salespeople, customers, staff, call centres, managers, compliance, but also regulators on the outside. So what our IQ platform does is it captures that voice data in most cases in real time through all of those channels around the outside. So that can be across mobile, Teams, Zoom, or in-person or call centre. What do we do with that voice data? Well, firstly, we record it and we transcribe it. But most importantly, we use AI and machine learning and business rules to interrogate that data in real time and drive out real-time intelligence about what's happening in your business. And we do that to achieve productivity gains, to automate compliance, execute actions, which could include stopping a transaction, analytics and insights and dashboards. You'll also see that we have structured data down there in the bottom left. So when you think about voice data, it's a very rich source of data, but when you think about correlating that with client data, transaction data, account data, the number of use cases is enormous for applying this technology. So on the right-hand side, a bit about how the platform's built. So we're using a data fabric to ingest data from many sources, and we're using leading technologies in the globe today to do that is infinitely scalable. So we can take an unlimited number of conversations and stream them into separate nodes and process them in real time through the data fabric. We can also do that with structured data. So we can bring in account data and transaction data in real time and correlate that with the voice data. Lastly, we're cloud agnostic. So we have a SaaS offering you can run in our SaaS, but we can also run in your cloud, in your VPC. So there's no need for your data to leave your ecosystem. And so that makes a big difference to a lot of finance firms. We can actually even run on physical servers. So we're entirely container based and we can run across platforms. Okay, next slide, please. So a use case, financial advice. So possibly one of the most highly regulated and intensely regulated industries in Australia in finance. Lots coming out of the Royal Commission on that 4 or 5 years ago, and a huge regulatory shift going on in that industry over the last 5 years. So advisors meet with clients in real time, meet with clients in person or over Teams, and the advisor is speaking to the client and the client is speaking to the advisor. So you can see some of the speech bubbles about what they might say there. Markets can go up and down, for instance, recommending products, recommending markets. So we're able to, in real time, ingest that speech, process it, transcribe it, process it using AI, and generate real-time compliance alerts. So in this case, an ineffective disclaimer, that's that first bubble there. Inappropriate advice, not qualified advice. We also have file notes, so imagine having a file note for every conversation, and automated compliance. So that's a trend line that shows the different advisors against each other and the number of compliance alerts. But as you can imagine, we can do a lot more on that. Next slide, please. Some of the other use cases that we're working on: trading desk, call centres, insurance claims, mortgage hardship, financial crime is a big one. I've got a great use case I could have talked to about that as well. We're interested in talking to financial institutions that want to innovate, use these voice use cases. A lot of you RegTechs out there have really interesting use cases that could use voice. So we're interested in talking to you and anyone else actually who's working in that. So contact us and we would be happy to share with you what we're doing and give you a demo and show you it working in real life. But we're aiming to stop compliance at source, stop non-compliance at source as it happens, not a day later, a week later, or a month later, or in some cases years later. Stop it as the words are uttered. Thank you. Back to you, Justin.
Thank you, James. That was a really good presentation. Next, we have Lara from LiveSign. I'll pass over to Lara now.
Thank you very much. And great presentation, everyone, so far. I'm Lara, CEO at thelawstore.com.au. I'll be speaking to you today and presenting our LiveSign solution. Just for a very quick bit of background on myself, I've actually come out of a digital identity background myself, having co-founded a different digital identity solution nearly a decade ago, which got acquired by a larger legal technology company. And I've since joined this group of companies, and particularly this technology company, to lead it around 18 months ago. So on that note, we'll please go to the next slide and I'll jump straight into what our solution is. As you know, in the paper world, or would be familiar with, important documents have and continue to be typically signed in front of a witness, which confirms both the identity of the signer and also the act of signing itself. The process typically has provided absolute certainty for all of us about who is actually signing that document, and it binds the individual to its contents. Next slide, please. However, what's happened in the move to digital, and this is where we saw a gap in the market, the witnessing function has actually been separated from the act of signing. Ultimately, the separation has created significant risk points, particularly around identity takeovers and theft. Typical e-signing solutions, and there's many out there as you're all familiar with in the market, they actually usually all stop at the keyboard after an individual has signed a document, making it impossible for all of us to know or be actually assured of who resolutely signed that document or was behind the keyboard at the time of signing it. And most companies, as a result of this, have actually been forced to choose between either accepting the risk to move to digital and, you know, continue to send things out, getting signed, not actually knowing who's in control of the device at that point in time, or leaving that paper process behind. But as I mentioned, it has come with a whole lot of risk, critical risk points there. Next slide, please. And that's exactly the gap that we saw in the market, and that's exactly where LiveSign does come in. So we're not trying to be a verification or identity solution. We're not trying to be a digital signing solution, but we operate at the intersection of both and have brought both of those together. So we provide electronic signing security by binding the person behind the keyboard or their device to their government issued ID at the precise point of signing. And we do this by getting the signer to use their smart device basically to access the photo and data embedded in the chip within their passport. We then get them to take a selfie to biometrically match their face to their government issued ID images, and then get them to sign the document. So that you can actually be assured of exactly who your signer is when those documents come back to you, and we package up both the verification and the signing or documents that have actually been signed with unique transaction codes. Next slide, thank you. some of this I have actually covered, but just really quickly, we also are aware of university studies that have actually showed that the human brain struggles to pick up the aging process in humans, etc., to a point where even 40% of passport officers in a university study found that they miss the imposter. And that's trained in individuals. So that's where biometrics obviously come in and provide a far more secure solution, and even more so than the face-to-face solutions that people may be continuing with. As I said, they might not be moving to digital simply because it has created a lot of risk points, and that's where we are closing the gap. Next slide, please. Oh, actually, sorry, go back. My fault. So there's a wide range of use cases for LiveSign, and we do have integrations, and it's all proprietary built technology as well, with again own proprietary built mortgage digital signing solution, where we combine digital mortgage signing solution with our LiveSign, which is as I've talked about, our biometric solution, binding people's identity to the signed documents, and we do have integrations with a number of other platforms and purpose-built solutions, even including client authorization forms for those operating in the legal and conveyancing world. I might go to the next slide now. Thank you. So our team, we're a team made up really of industry experts. As I mentioned, I've come out of the digital identity background, but we've also actually originated out of a law firm ourselves, who do and act on behalf of banks and mortgage settlement work, with a keen focus on them originally not actually being comfortable with the mortgage documents that they were getting signed with clients on behalf of banks, with the idea actually originating out of there and then them setting up a separate technology company. But the rest of the team, this team has come out of either top tier law, digital identity, legal and technology, and even governance backgrounds. We have flexibility of who we can work with, and our clients and companies being completely in control of our own technology. We are currently working with a wide range of companies and institutions from across financial, legal, property and insurance sectors, including a subsidiary of one of the top 4 banks. Oh yes, that next slide, that's already there. So for any of you who are currently needing to get high value or important legal documents signed and would like to de-risk yourselves of not knowing exactly who is signing them, we'd love to speak to you. My personal email is obviously available there. We've also got a web page there, but by all means feel free to reach out to me personally and I'll be happy to share this deck after this. So thank you very much, everyone.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Sean. That was a really good presentation. Next we have Sean from MemberCheck. Over to you, Sean.
Thanks, Justin, and big thanks to RTA for setting this webinar up. Today I'm going to give you a bit of background about our MemberCheck solutions and how we assist organizations around the world in complying with AML regulations. Next slide, please. Next slide, yeah. So our organization was started in 2007 as a partnership between KPMG and Dow Jones. And essentially what we provide is AML and CTF screening solutions that assist reporting entities comply with their obligations. Since we've been established, the AML industry has evolved. And as such, our solution has also evolved to address changes in regulations and compliance. We have a team of consultants, ACAMS certified consultants, who continuously assess our technologies and provide feedback and recommendations on ways to refine our solutions so that they meet market expectations. We are headquartered in Sydney with sales, marketing and support divisions located in Japan, Turkey and South Africa. Since inception, we've performed over 100 million scans through our systems. We have over 13,000 customers around the world. Our database is updated every 24 hours and we have clients from over 195 countries. Next slide, please. So digging into the solutions that we serve or offer, we help provide PEP checks, global sanction checks, media monitoring, which includes adverse media, ID verification and face match. So we have a biometric and liveness detection solution. We also provide a consulting service with our ACAMS representatives We have a UBO verification check, so we help understand who the ultimate beneficial owner of an organization is, and we also offer compliance as a service. Next slide, please. So why choose us? Some of our features include real-time monitoring. This feature essentially allows you to add your clients, whether they're individuals or organizations, to a monitoring list, which is screened every single day against any changes to the PEP and sanctions database. And if there's any updates, you will be notified via email or API to log into your application again and reassess the risk that individual poses to your company. In addition, we are multi-server deployed. So we have servers in EU, specifically Frankfurt, Oman, and in Australia. And we support on-prem and obviously SaaS connections. In terms of intelligent filters, one of the main pain points that we address is dealing with a lot of false positives, and our intelligent filters sit on top of our database to ensure that our the solution is as streamlined as possible and you're not dealing with a lot of false positives. So we have algorithms like phonetic matching algorithms and semantic name matching algorithms that help to reduce the number of false positives. In addition, we allow for unlimited multi-organizations and multiple users access at no additional cost. Next slide, please. So a case study with an organization called ZignSec. I won't go into too much detail about this particular organization, but they've been with us since 2018. The issue that they had was that they were unable to perform global PEP sanctions and adverse media checks on their clients. They did encounter a lot of manual effort and time spent in conducting their periodic reviews of their customer base. They also had single user access to their solution, and the incumbent solutions that they used were not as effective at filtering out false positives. So how did we help? We provided them with access to our member check solution, which in turn they were able to resell to their clients and access our global PEP sanctions and adverse media database. They were able to utilize the monitoring functionality to run daily scans, and in turn they were able to identify high-risk clients that previously went undetected. They were able to now set up multiple organizations as well and multiple users who have access to the platform, and the intuitiveness and the easy to use application made the compliance journey a lot easier. And in addition, we perform training sessions on how to best use our filtering capabilities to weed out for false positives. Next slide, please. So some of the industries we serve span all the way from financial services, superannuation funds, all the way to crypto exchanges. As I said, we have over 13,000 customers around the world. Some to mention include Service New South Wales, Acmea, Starlight Foundation, Hum Group, and Fujifilm. Next slide, please. So that's it for today. If you do want to reach out and trial our service or view a demo of our service, please contact us. The link is there on the screen, and I'll also put it in the chat after this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean, for that really good presentation as well. Next, I'll pass over to Mark from Nyota. Over to you, Mark.
Thanks very much. And thanks for the opportunity to speak today to the RegTech Association, everyone assembled. It's wonderful to be able to participate again. The clue is in the title slide. Essentially, Nyota is a platform that allows you to develop your own software. So what I'm talking about today is essentially a series of tools. It's called Nyota, and it allows you to build, deliver, support the web application solutions that you're not offered off the shelf, essentially by SaaS point solutions. So when you're stuck in a solution, it's compliance tools that you've always wanted but never been offered. You can build those yourselves using Nyota. Next slide, thanks. So I've kind of given away I've stolen my own thunder with my first slide, but diving into it just a little bit. Again, what we're doing with risk and compliance teams globally in financial services, other regulated industries, is putting software development tools in their hands. So in the hands of the risk compliance team, drag and drop, they're able to automate processes or workflows, BPMN aligned workflows, generate documents on a self-service, automated generation basis, and expert systems. So really powerful rules-based systems that provide advice, compliance advice, all without churning kind of compliance legal team time with the 15, 20-minute phone call. Next slide, thanks. So these are the three kind of high-level buckets of capability that you can deliver yourself as, say, a corporate compliance team. You can actually build out your process, take your very specific need when it comes to managing a process end to end for all sorts of risk analysis, risk-weighted scoring, reviews and approvals, audit workflows, things like that. You build them specific to your requirements because you're not getting them off the shelf. Build really powerful expert systems, that middle column there. So whatever rules you've got specific to your business, you can build them very readily into these applications that run in the browser to provide people advice, whether it's kind of gifts, entertainment, clearance, conflicts, onboarding, human resources, compliance solutions, whoever it is. We have finance teams, operations teams, legal teams, procurement teams who are essentially creating one-stop shop web applications, workflows that guide people through or handhold business users and external stakeholders through processes, guided decision making end to end. And then the third column, document automation, really relates to Neodo having the market leading document generation capability. You can mark up your own templates, your own reports, your own contracts, whatever they might be, in Microsoft Word using our Word add-in. And that allows a web application to generate those contracts. Again, business user generating a document on a self-service basis. Next slide, thanks, Hong. Hong, if you can click through the next 6 clicks every 10 seconds or so, that'll give me a minute. This is just a basic selection of just examples of things built on our platform. It's not what our platform does, but the types of specific things that people decide to deliver themselves. They build GDPR data transfer tools, HR compliance tools. So in the US, for example, figuring out, risk management and reducing the admin burden of particular leave requirements across multiple jurisdictions. Allen and Overy build Hong Kong cyber fraud portal, so specific to kind of profiling and offering their expertise at a global basis, but essentially to provide their clients, prospective clients, ability to analyze risk, respond rapidly to a cyber incident involving with a nexus with Hong Kong. So the Allen and Overy team have been able to essentially build a tool themselves and deploy that on the web. Allows users to talk about the fraud, generate particular documents they can send to Hong Kong police and the regulators. This is all self-service stuff that really puts the knowledge content, the compliance content out to the world or to your business stakeholders in a really streamlined way. Next slide, thanks, Hong. We'll keep going through this one. I think there's a couple of slides inserted, so we'll jump through to the next one. This is an example, essentially, if we stop here for a moment, of a conclusion, a screen at the end of an app built by, in this case, the Allen and Overy team. They're not software programmers, they're lawyers and compliance people, risk people. They essentially can formulate these form-based flows, steps in a workflow, documents generated so they can essentially prepare those with a click of a few buttons. The client can prepare them themselves with a few clicks of buttons and download them here, send them to the police or the regulator, for example. Next slide, thanks. So this is just a picture of, I'd love to show you real time. Send me an email. I'll show you our workflow engine, how you can visually design BPMN workflows to support whatever your process might be in the compliance space. Next slide, thanks, Hong. And this is an example of one of our application building tools. Drag and drop, you curate the user experience that will play a part in this broader workflow. Rules, questions, formulas, documents. You're building the software yourselves to provide the user experience that your particular stakeholders need and enjoy. Next slide, thanks. I see Alison's turned the camera on. This is just a quick picture of our Word add-in. You can mark up your own reports, prepare your own self-generating documents from templates like this in Microsoft Word using all your styles and all of your corporate content. Next slide, thanks. Why do this yourself? Why do the no-code thing? Why have non-software developers build software? Well, it's really just fast and cheap way of delivering really bespoke solutions. Send me an email. I'd love to show you live how the tools work and other examples in the risk and compliance space, and I'd love to have a chat. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Mark. Another great presentation. pass over now to Paul from OCR Labs. Over to you, Paul.
Beautiful. Thank you all. And thank you to the RegTech Association for having us. So I'm Paul Warren-Tape. I'm the COO for APAC for our identity verification solution. So who is OCR Labs? Our vision is to make customer onboarding online effortless and also removing the risk of digital identity fraud, so making that impossible. Because frustrated with what authentication solutions that are in the market and that they claimed to work, we set out to develop our own identity verification solution ourselves from scratch. So we own and build 100% of our technology, and we spent 5 years building our own end-to-end ID verification solution on our dedicated laboratories before launching it in late 2018. We're now a global team of over 100 people, and that's with offices now in the UK, US, Turkey, and obviously in our Australian hub. Next slide. So why am I here talking today? So we're helping our clients meet their regulatory requirements as they relate to identity verification. Now that a lot of our current clients include AML KYC, the telcos customer identity authentication rules, so making sure that you can't go and port or steal someone's phone number. Liquor and Gaming New South Wales have also brought out same-day delivery age verification requirements, so checking people on your BWS or your Jimmy Brings on a Friday night that you are of age. So we're actually delivering and have evolved from more than just being a tech company, but also help change and shape how digital frameworks are being developed and rolled out. Like the Australian government's got the Trusted Digital Identity Framework, which is the kind of the Australian best practice of how to handle digital identities. We were the first private entity and the highest to get accredited under the TDIF scheme, which also then helps to then start to think these frameworks will start to build into new regulations as and when they come out. So given the joys of that regulatory space, we're also then helping our clients shape their own internal identity verification kind of requirements around AML KYC. So how to use these technologies to get as many people through as possible, but also preventing fraud while maintaining compliance. Next slide. So looking at our overall flow, so long as you've got a photo ID and you can smile and own a phone, then you can get through our solution. So how it works is there is different ways to initiate an identity verification. So that could be sent out on SMS or an email or scanned via a QR code. The user will then obviously click on through, take a photo of their license, perform a selfie of the video to prove they're real, and then we'll get that ID verification within 60 seconds. So it's a very simple and seamless and intuitive and accessible to all. Next slide. Why are we different in the market? There's a lot of identity solutions which are out there in the market, but as we said, we own 100% of our technology. That therefore means we can control our roadmap, and that helps to then, as regulatory changes, we can develop with that, so we can have purpose-built solutions which meet the regulations. Now, kind of the ways we prevent fraud and prove someone is who they say they are, we've got the document verification. So all of our solutions are built on computer vision and underpinned with deep neural networks. We've got a really strong document fraud assessment. So you take a photo of your identity document, we'll look at and prove it's an authentic document. So we'll look at the security features, we'll look at where the fonts, the colorings, is the photo being tampered with it, is it a fake? And having processed the most and greatest volumes of Australia and New Zealand, our machine learning is precise, and it's obviously the highest standards. The biometric verifications, the liveness, proving you are a real person and you are the right person. So it's kind of got that both. You are alive and well, and also you are that same person, which matches back to your photo ID. From a data verification, we can connect to any sort of data providers to do the data verification check. So you can meet your AML requirements, whether you do your document fraud assessment with your liveness, and then do your PEP and sanctions, and that will meet your AML requirements. Next slide, please. We've got a number of solutions which makes it easy to integrate. We have a single tenant, which is our enterprise solution, which I know all the big banks like to move towards single tenant cloud-based. We do have a multi-tenant solution as well, or you can actually just access our underlying core technologies via our ID Engine APIs. Next slide. We are trusted by some of the biggest businesses, and those can speak for themselves there. Next slide. We can probably just skip this in the essence of time. Next slide. And probably the one from a compliance standpoint, we're equipped to meet all of those highest standards globally. So our mission has been to be the industry benchmark from a compliance perspective, just so we can build trust in our brand. Next and final slide, I believe. And if you'd love to hear more, you can drop us an email. You can find myself on LinkedIn or go to ocrlabs.com. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Paul. Another really good presentation. And finally for today, we have Jay from TikTok. Over to you, Jay.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody. So I'm Jay Walsh from TikTok Enterprise. Just a quick overview on TikTok. So essentially about 130 staff based out of Adelaide. And we also have residents here at Stone and Chalk in Sydney, where I'm based. In terms of RegTech, what regulations are we solving for with our technology? It's responsible lending. And so TikTok essentially was started back in 2017, and we were born out of the Royal Commission at that time and the need for responsible lending systems to allow a fast decision on something as complex as a home loan, whilst meeting all the associated regulatory compliance needs. We have our own direct home loan business, so that's a fully digital home loan, including all the compliance and responsible lending aspects required to fulfill a home loan. And we've settled over $3 billion of dollars of loans and continue to grow year on year. We can regularly approve a home loan in less than 10 minutes. And that obviously includes meeting all the responsible lending commitments. I work on the TikTok enterprise side. So that's our B2B arm, where we look to enable the wider market by sharing our technology and our processes with our partners. We do have an existing full white label managed service in market, which being used by a number of large providers today, and they've used it to quickly launch their own digital home loan. That's for the large end of town. But essentially we have been breaking down our full technology stack into software as a service modules. We have 2 in market today. Try to give a flavor on this slide of those. The one on the left is Xi Validate. The purpose of Xi Validate is to confirm and validate a person's financial position. Can they afford a loan? And we chose that because that's typically the most challenging and time-consuming problem. And typically, from a manual perspective, it can take 4 hours and much more to do that typically. So, and the second module that we've already got in market is our Xi Serviceability module, which is to confirm how much an applicant can service or borrow. So once again, Xi Validate, confirm and validate a person's financial position. Can they afford a loan? And then serviceability, how much can they service or borrow? And these are the modules of our tech that our own home loan credit assessors use as part of our processes within TikTok. Our ethos is to let our software do the heavy lifting. So the tech uses exception-based assessment. That means that allows us to be fast with our assessment, and that's the advantage that we're looking to share with our partners to save time, so that you only need to review the exceptions that get flagged up as requiring your input. Some examples are just sort of on the slide you're looking at there. If you look on the left-hand side, so we've, the tiles, the green and, orange and purple tiles there, they're essentially, each of those is the digitization of a credit policy rule. So, where you might have a credit policy with, for example, 100 rules, the tech is providing approval for a whole set of those. So an example of that might be where you ask on your website form, you ask an applicant to state their income, and having gone through their transaction data, you may have a credit policy rule, which is if the actual transaction data is within 10% of the stated transaction income that your applicant had provided, then that's green. That doesn't need to be assessed by a credit assessor, and you can save that time by just zoning in on what does need to be assessed. The other, probably standout fast processes that we have in things like expenses assessment. Typically, you know, historically that's a yellow and you know, highlighters on bank statements, trying to pick out the different totals for different categories, groceries, etc., that an applicant for a home loan might be after. With our tech, you can link the accounts and pull in that. You can zone in on anything that might look amiss under those categories, but it's all there digitally for the assessor to have a look at. So basically, you know, things like high risk are possible to, you know, these might be things like gambling transactions, might be buy now, pay later, where you may choose to have these things flagged up. Essentially, you can access our technology via API, and all that is open and available to you. So things like through the serviceability, you would get back results like debt to income ratio for your applicant, their maximum borrowing amount, and so on. Next slide, if we can, please. So just this is a for reference slide. Essentially, as I say, just to recap, in market today, we have 2 of our SaaS modules, Xi Validate and Xi Serviceability, and then in the future, we'll release more of our tech stack in terms of Xi Credit, Xi Identity, Xi Property, and so on. We've got a large range of existing financial institutions and all the way down to small fintechs using our software as a service offerings. If you'd like to get in contact, my details and our details are on the previous slide. TikTok.ai is our website, and we're based in Stone and Chalk in Sydney. Please reach out if you've got a use case that you'd like to discuss further. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jay, and to all the presenters today. I think there were some really good ones. Well done to everyone. Just before, that's my end of the session today, so I'll pass back over to Alison.
Thank you. And thank you so much to all our presenters. We love providing you with this platform to showcase your RegTech solutions, and a big thank you also to you, Justin. We always enjoy your insights, so thanks for joining us again in this role. You will receive a link to the recording tomorrow. We have more events coming up, so please feel free to register for them. However, this does conclude our online programs for the year, which is very exciting, but not our face-to-face events. Next Thursday, we'll be holding our first event in New York, being hosted by Accenture. This is a free event and will include presentations from RegTechs and a panel session from industry experts. If you or any of your team are based in the US or will be there at that time, we'd love to see you there, so please visit our website for registration details. I'd also like to remind any of our RTA members who are on the line that voting for board directors closes on the 15th of November, and we also have our AGM on the 29th of November. So thank you again. We look forward to welcoming you back to our online events in 2023, and we hope that you have a safe, festive season, and we'll see you again soon, hopefully.